drawing before I even thought about classing myself as an artist. I've always drawn. Back when people were talking about things that they could do that calm their mind, I realised I was always drawing. So it's always there. Yeah, I've always drawn.
What were some of the things you used to draw as a kid? I mean, I know I used to. My first thing I really vividly remember learning how to draw were the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice. Mine was a wave. God, I've never even thought about it. Mine was a wave, and it was we used to just draw like we used to do waves. I used to do waves and have like people surfing on them and stuff. And then because it's like you can make it look like it looked cool because this didn't look like how I'd been taught to draw water, so I just used to do waves. But then I just used to draw faces, characters all the time, drawing eyes and trying to work out what the best way to draw eyes was. I'm a big fan of doodling that. I've been doing a lot of that recently, actually. Characters, trying to draw myself, kind of. Because characters is quite a big. It's an area where I kind of really want to, kind of not grow in, but I see lots of people drawing characters all the time, and they're usually just straight copies. They're like you say, you copied what you knew. You drew the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or in the UK they're called Hero Turtles because we didn't like the word ninja. Fun fact for you. But so I've always drawn me, pretty good likeness. But there was one artist, I can't remember the name, and they used to do a beautiful girl who had beautiful red hair, and so there'd be this little tiny face and then this beautiful hair, and I was like, I could do the same with my stupid beard and have it going. So I did loads of like practice runs of that, and it used to be really simplified when I was a kid, real simple. I almost used to do, I still kind of do when I work where I work at the moment. We always write on kids' sheets and I always sign it with a really simplified version. But I've been working heaps recently. It's just line work, isn't it? And like, can I get my nose right? Noses are horrible. Eyes are kind of okay. But then just trying to make it really simplified.
Yeah. It's not that sort of, continuous line, but it is broken up into kind of segments of line, right?
Yeah, and I always start with the eyes, and that's probably that. I've not thought about that before. Eyes are like a universal. That is a set of eyes. It could be a set of boobs, but it's a set of eyes. And if you put eyebrows on it, then you've got expression. So it was like a universal starting point. I always seem to start with the eyes, and then the nose kind of. But that's just, I've been working on that, just doing characters. And I'm a big fan of line work, so I've been like varying line width, which I really like. I've got my pen, I've done my pen, but so the line width is really cool. I was looking, and I didn't realise it, I was looking at some kids' book the other day where they had the lines to start off with for the shape of whatever it is, but then they would like line it in a thicker line. So it added a really cool dimension to it where, I'll just do a quick sketch, but they would have, but then they would do a thicker line around the outside, just the outline.
Right.
And I really like the way that looked. And I just like the way that kind of feels with the thicker line around the outside. Obviously, this is quite rough. This is fucking rough.
There's a graphic element to that sort of bold outline. Right?
Yeah, and it makes it sort of stand out. But there's a like clarity to that line.
Yeah,
that I'm a big fan of that kind of. It's really obviously it's purposeful. It has a purpose.
Going sort of back to some of the earlier stages of your imagery, because obviously iconography is an important part of what you've been doing.
Yeah.
You started with the school chair. Well, at least the school chair was an early form. Right?
Yeah. So there's a long story behind it, but I wanted a tag but I wanted a tag that wasn't me just writing a name, even though I'm super obsessed with writing and fonts. So I started with the school chair, but actually it came about under the furniture. So I used to write furniture, which I still kind of really think is a beautiful word. It's just got the E on the end and the F at the start. It's just really nice. And so as a project, I did. I made a pseudo company called Furniture Skateboards, and the skateboards was a collection of like 6 skateboards, and the graphics on the skateboards were. Oh God, sounds so new. The graphics on the skateboards were based on tricks. So if you're a skateboarder and you pick a skateboard up, you can tell what the skater does, what kind of a skater they are. Right. I could find a pro deck from a skater from the 80s, look at the board and be able to go, I think I know which kind of skater that is. He was someone who was super into nose slides. He was regular. He was super into crooks because it's worn off in a certain area. So I painted the boards to look like that. But then over the top of it, I did a big white outline of a particular chair. So I had 6 different chairs. I had a high chair, had an armchair, I had a square back wooden chair, and then I had a school chair. And the school chair just kind of stuck. And I started using it with pens and writing it, and furniture kind of became a tagline. And as anyone who writes in anything, it becomes muscle memory. So I wrote furniture lots and lots and lots. And the school chair was that. I made stickers. I've still got hopes. And I drew it on boards. I drew it on my trousers. I drew it on a hat. I drew it on everything.
And the school chair, I guess, was harking to that sort of ubiquitous thing that we all remember.
Identifiable
right?
imagery. Yeah.
I think you were telling me that it's a very, English school chair.
Very. The colour's English. I actually saw some outside someone's house the other day. The hole in the back's English. That's not a New Zealand thing.
Yeah.
The New Zealand ones were solid backed. The hole in the back was very English. It was a kind of this weird off browny orange, and then black plastic covered aluminium or steel, whatever it was, with the little black caps at the bottom, like to stop them rubbing on the floor. Classic. So you go to any school in the UK in the 80s, that's what everyone sat on then.
And how much of that idea of a linear icon was drawn from that influence that you and I have talked about a fair bit, which was the likes of the toasters and that kind of.
It was booming. Yeah, it was booming in the UK. I feel like there was much more of a sticker thing in the UK. Stickers were huge, and everyone was doing them, and people were still trading. There were people meeting up and doing it because there was Flickr forums and talk boards, and everyone was getting onto it. So I don't think it was an intentional thing, but when I did it, I was like, that's good. And you could really, I used to mess around with it heaps. So I'd have it, but then I would just have stupid long legs, and because you could mess with it, and it would still even in that ridiculous format, it's still identifiable as a school chair. Or I would glitch it. I would go, and then I'd just do a weird one, and then I'd do another one, and do a weird one coming back, and then it would be, I would just mess with it. And so it was always identifiable. And I did it for years and years and years. And then I was in New Zealand. I was traveling in New Zealand, and I was in a camper van by Northlands Mall. On my Todd, I bought some sticker paper from that art store that's now been pulled down. It was on Drawing Room.
Yep.
I bought some sticker paper in there and a marker pen, and I drew because I was on my own. I was looking at schools.
Yep.
And I then drew the compass, because that was the next itineration of my school kind of thing. So I drew a compass, and again I like the compass because it's fully identifiable. Everyone, certainly of my era, would have known that thing. And they would have put the pencil in it, and they would have tightened it. They'd known what it felt like. They'd know this screw was important because, and this little bit at the top had vertical serrations in it, and they would know that although that looked sharp, it wasn't that sharp. And if you whacked it really hard, it used to come out the back. You knew everything about it, and you could do cool off ones.
Still amazing to me that a compass was like a part of every year's stationery list.
Yeah.
You had to get a new compass.
Yeah. Fully.
And I
used
still
it maybe once.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I don't remember actually using it
but
that
we all
often,
had
but we had
them.
them. Yeah.
Gaining dust in our helix.
And they were always so great. They'd often come in the tin, and
the
they'd
helix
be beautiful.
tins, well, beautifully designed.
Particularly the metallic ones.
Yeah, and there was a ridge where they'd obviously been
joined,
poured or something.
Yeah.
The line where they joined together. Beautiful pieces of kit, and we all had them, and we all know what they felt like, and we probably know what they tasted like because you probably licked it, And so I just did that for ages and ages and ages and ages with nothing else. And I did big ones of these. This was the first time I did big stuff. When I say big, it was marker pens big on a wall, on a white wall, down an alleyway in a place called Fareham, where I'm from the UK. And my mate borrowed my toy machine Parker, which I got green, and he drew on it and it with black paint all over it, so I just gave it to him. Vivid memory. Damn thing. It was so good. And then of course one day I drew a pencil in it, which makes complete sense. And I drew a pencil going on the 2D-ness of that. That's a flat image. I wasn't trying to do rounded corners and stuff. The pencil was very 2D. It looked like that, It was as simple as simple can be. And I always had the ferrule, the metal bit, and I always had the rubber, and it looked like that. So I drew that in that.
In the compass,
yeah.
Right? And were you ever sort of interested in what people were making of the compass or even the chair? And obviously this leads to the pencil. Was that ever something where you were kind of I'm trying to say this, but what are people actually saying?
No. I mean, looking at the artists that were kind of doing their thing around the time, there was, Deface, there was, the Toasters, there was all those guys. Rosie, he just used to draw the bikes, just spray paint and lights.
Yep.
There was no meaning behind it. Literally just there, a thing that was there. Because I'm always drawing, like my notebooks are full. I'm always constantly doodling and drawing and thinking of things. It was just a physical representation of that. It was a sketchbook, out on the street, and I still to this day I'm a very keen believer in the joy of that.
And yet they always do have meaning, right? Like in a strange way, whether it's evoking nostalgia or there's an association with functionality.
It brings out whatever it brings out.
Yeah.
The current, so this sort of version of the pencil was one I didn't draw much. There's probably a few stickers around still, but I didn't draw it much. I thought about using it for a logo for the notebooks that I made. It made sense. I was making notebooks. It made sense to have a pencil as a notebook. So I did have it with PS with Portside on for a long time, which again PS is very open ended.
Mm-hmm.
It's about people are like, well, it's the end of it's when you add an extra bit, So I did kind of go down that alleyway a little bit, but it felt uncomfortable because I was not legitimizing, but I was making notebooks to sell at markets, and therefore to then cover the city in essentially the logo for that felt uncomfortable.
Sure.
So I debunked that idea and just went straight to writing Portside as as actual words. And then I was like, well, in that case, I can mess around with the pencil more. I can focus on the pencil a bit more. And it just, by a series of ins and outs, it changed into what it is today. The reason why it's probably the way it is today is I came across a whole bunch of stickers, and the stickers, my ones that I were using were old address label stickers, and they were long and thin, so the pencil would just fit into that perfectly.
Right.
And then I came across a whole bunch of stickers that were rectangular, and I was like, well, I need to do small ones, a bit like when you chop off your pencil at school and make it as short as you can. So it became a shorter thing, so I cut out that part, I got rid of it. And then it was like, well, if I just do that, it just looks a bit crap. It's obviously a pencil, but it just looks a bit crap. And so it became this much more stylized kind of pencil, almost non. It used to flare like massively, and then over time, my inner sensibilities have brought that line, that squareness back to it. But it still has this well, that's that, you know, that's that bit there, you know.
Yep.
Which myself and Lost Boy realised I was doing wrong. It should be, if you do it properly, the low part should be on the line. The line should be coming from the low part, not from the high part.
Because it's
where you
it's cutting in
but it looks
around the
terrible.
angle. Yeah.
So we joked about it, and we were like, you know, if I was actually doing this properly, then it should have the line should be there, and there, and there. But
there's something less pleasing about it,
God,
right?
It looks horrible. Like, I can't even, you know, I can't even imagine. So then it's become what it is. You know, I'm doing it with a really thin pen here, but quite often I used to, you know, it's become that there's a 3D-ness to it. Yeah. But then there isn't a 3D-ness to it as well, and so
it's incredibly flat, and yet there's a suggestion of 3D
this
form.
bit here, and I can do them with the, you know, with the rubber part on it, and I do them occasionally. I do the split ones, which I really like, because that gives it the 3D-ness by default.
Yeah,
you know,
those sort of schematic plan
if you can see its
type
guts,
ones,
then you kind of know that it's 3D.
Yeah.
I
mean, I kind of like the bullishness of removing the eraser. You know, it's almost like don't erase anything. Imperfection's fine.
You know, I made all those ones, and I looked at buying them with erasers on, and I was like, that's cool, but I would probably actually end up just hacking a bunch off.
Yeah.
Because actually most of the ones I do they don't have erasers on them. Even though the erasers they're beautiful, they never freaking work.
No, yeah.
Rubber,
they often make more of a mess than anything,
all
right?
Hard, rubbery. Yeah. They're just for looks, and so I
smudge and leave marks. Yeah.
So I have over time got rid of them more often than not.
The other story you always recount is the influence of the book How to Sharpen a Pencil that you were given.
Just delightful.
And you know, did that come before or after?
No, that came after. My mate Lee in the UK bought me that book for a Christmas present years and years ago. I don't think I was drawing pencils. No, I wasn't drawing pencils at that point. So it wasn't because I was drawing pencils. It's probably because I was just a straight up like stationery nerd. Yeah. I mean, I'm totally okay with saying that. Like, you know, I love, and this story is fun. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. The reason why I'm a stationery nerd is because I went to extraordinarily exclusive private boys' boarding school, and we used to have a tuck shop, proper tuck shop, where you could go at Moynty and you could spend your money, your pocket money, on lollies, bags of lollies, whatever it was at the time. But attached to the tuck shop was a stationery shop, and that got billed to your parents, so you didn't have to pay for it. So if I didn't have any money to buy lollies, I'd just go and buy a couple of pencils and a ruler, and it just got billed to my parents. They would have had a massive stationery bill. Yeah. But the joy, you were getting something new. Yeah. A new rubber, a new pencil, a new sharpener, whatever it was, and it was fucking free.
I think of my daughter, and you know, there is something about stationery when you're just having, whether it's
like a pencil case full of lovely, delicious.
As a child, you know, like there's joy in a staple remover.
Oh
you
my
know?
God. I've got stories about. So every school in New Zealand, the staff get a pack at the beginning of the year to support their teaching throughout the year. It's usually 3 highlighters, the Post-it notes, maybe a ruler, a couple of pencils and a couple of pens, and there's a staple remover. So we collected them all in at my previous workplace, and we had like 45 staple removers in their boxes, because no one ever uses one of those ever. But we all had them, put them in our drawer. Yeah, there goes another term, another staple remover. So we had tons of them. Absolutely useless pieces of kit. So yeah, look at me. I've got all these pens in my pencil case because they're good ones.
Right. And do you have a favourite? I mean, is there one?
My new fountain pen is my favourite, only because it's well, just look at it. It's beautiful. So I've been watching a couple of people on who do drawings with this, and they do the thin lines and the thick lines with them, and I just extra fine. I'm a lefty, so I handwriting is really important because lots of lefties curl. Sure. And I'm a lefty, so having been a school teacher and taught lots of left-handers to write, I know how to write nice and neatly. I've got beautiful handwriting.
I'm a left-handed as well.
Yeah.
And what always struck me was how, I guess we were lucky enough to be born just in time to not be essentially demonized for writing without left hand.
I'm older than you. My first school, I got absolutely almost taught to write right-handed.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Awful.
I still remember some conversations with some older ladies at one of my jobs where I was in a customer-facing role, and the way they talked about being left-handed was like talking about
Images.
Yeah.
It
was like I was a witch who should be burned at the stake.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one generation before me, it was beaten out of you. I was lucky because I had my teacher sent me to a lady. Again, another amazing story. She sent me to a lady for elocution lessons, but they weren't. They were handwriting lessons.
Right.
Because I didn't join up, and I capitalised everything, and I probably would still do that. And yeah, she gave me a proper pen. It was an Edding. It was a special Edding pen, white, beautiful pen.
Yeah.
That had the 3, this has got the 3.
Right.
Made it easier. And she taught me to write left-handed. And I think I met Roald Dahl. I'm sure. Well, she said it was a friend of hers who was a very famous writer and had written books that we'd read in class, but she never actually alluded to it being Roald Dahl. But we were reading Roald Dahl books in class.
And did that play into your the choice of name? Because
but there is a link there. I had never thought about that, but yeah, I think I actually met him.
Wow.
I don't know. She never actually introduced him. He came in and was doing something with the school, and it was a very posh school.
Yeah.
In that area of the world, so it could well have been him.
Yeah.
It looked like him.
You're ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she taught me to write left-handed, and I'm a big fan of handwriting. I really like handwriting. I like the word handwriting.
As someone who works in education and teaching young people, do you try and pass that on, or is it something that just isn't something that you're allowed to sort of focus on?
Well, I did when I used to be in a regular classroom. We used to do 15 minutes like twice a week, and the kids hated it. They all hated it. But they had neat handwriting, and I'm terrible. If someone's sitting near me writing and they've got shit handwriting, I'm like, oh, come on, dude, you're a grown up. Do some like proper hand. I'm the worst. I'm such a boomer with that. But that's my line thing again. That's probably why I'm obsessed with the lines. I'm probably that's probably it. Handwriting. There is so many reasons why handwriting is good, and it's got nothing to do with having neat handwriting. It's to do with spelling. It's to do with everything. If you write because, it's not because you're spelling out because. You're not going BECA. It's because you just know that's what it feels like when you write your name.
Sure.
You write your signature. You're not going RE. You're not doing that. You just have a. So if you write the word the, you don't have to think about spelling it.
Yeah.
It's like if you know your times tables, you don't have to think about doing the sums. If you know some of your times tables, It's the same thing. It's muscle memory. If you can write those hard words because if you do those over and over and over, you don't have to worry about spelling them.
And that becomes actually really interesting when you think about each person having their own approach to how letters link and what those conjoiners or joiners are. In the past, and I still remember those lessons where you were sort of taught, all right, well, this is how you write cursive, and this is how you connect things.
Yeah, it was weird. Why would you go? I'll do it here. Why would you go back on yourself when you should just go round?
Yeah,
but there is a reason, because that's the formation of every letter form. That's the C, that's the G, that's where you start. Sure. You come over and come back to make your G, come over and come back to make your C or your D. That's the reason why you do that. But yeah, we could go into that for a day. I'm a big fan.
Have you ever found, one thing that always struck me was that, kids who got into graffiti often had neat handwriting.
Yeah, to be a good graffiti artist, I think you need to be a good handwriter. And there's a value in that. Graffiti artists really value if you write up and you write something beautifully, it's got all the ascenders and the descenders are in the right place.
Yeah, and essentially, I mean, that also comes back to what you were saying about muscle memory, and that a well executed tag
is
muscle memory. Yeah. It's efficiency as well, right? It's getting from point A to point B in a fluid way.
Yeah, and if you tag and here's a great example. If you're a tagger, you're going to fit into that gap that's you want to. If you're doing it right, you can work your piece and it will still look rad, even if it's fitting in a weird little gap like that. It will still, it's still, you've got to make it work into that space.
So all this leads to your interest in type and typography growing and
I like letters
really being an area of focus, I guess, at the moment, right?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying writing. Again, I'm going to go down a nerd route. I'm going down a nerd route. I've been actively looking for artists that make me go, yes, really like that. So I've been doing research, which is something that I've never done because I just kind of been winging it. And I've been finding artists who've done stuff that gives me an actual reaction to stuff. And I'm like, that's outrageous. And most of them are people who are not trained formally. Most of them are people who are wanting to get just something out there, and most of them are people who are doing letters, big letters, saying random things. It doesn't matter what they're saying, and I'm looking at spaces, and I really like that idea of letters filling spaces. I really like the homemadeness of some stuff. Nowadays it's easy. I could easily just go to a computer. I could find a font I like. I could print it. I could project it onto a wall. I could go around it with a pen and fill it in, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm very definitely down the rabbit hole of doing it without any of that.
Yeah.
I want to just look at a space and eye it up and decide that actually this is going to work better if I join at the bottom rather than at the top, or I'm quite into that at the moment,
right?
Where I'm trying to work out what's best for the space rather than going with this is what I'm going to do and it just needs to fit into the space.
And does that also come back to that idea of flow and
placement, flow, I like the fact that I hand do everything. And I've got very close numerous times to just going to Bongo and be like, can you just print me fucking 6,000 pencils? I'll cut them out by hand, which gives me the handmade element. I've been very close to doing that, but it doesn't quite sit right.
Yeah.
And when people say, "Oh, you must just print them all off," I'm like, "No, actually, I hand draw everything I do."
Yeah.
They're like, "Fucking really? Why? But I just feel I need to do that. And so if I was to whenever I draw on things, I'm again sounding such a boomer. I sometimes struggle with people who pre-done it.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. They've done it at home. It's perfect. But then they come to the wall and then they're just transferring, essentially just tracing, and using cool skills, admittedly amazing skills, but they're just transferring from this piece of paper or this laptop or this whatever it is to the wall. Whereas I actually like just rocking up. If I was to paint a wall, I'd like to rock up and go, okay, I'm going to need to think about that and then just going for it. And it might not work or it might work. Whereas when I do the paste ups, it's essentially that. I'm doing that, but I'm just bringing it to the streets rather than doing it. And my attrition rate for my paste ups is pretty low. I don't think in the last 3 years I've done any that aren't what I want them to do. So it means I'm getting good at it.
Yeah,
they're pretty, and I'm pretty good at repairing. If the line's not quite right there, I know what I need to do to bring it back in to make it work there. It's quite. I'm pretty damn good at drawing pencils.
You've talked about having almost a ratio, right?
There is a ratio. Yeah. So, but that not even. The outside line. Let's imagine the outside line is three widths, and sometimes it is. Then the inside line will be the two. And then the width between. I'm going to draw the width. This width here. If I do a close up, that's my 3, but overlapping by 1. So that's a 4. But it's actually a 3 and a 3 take away the 1 from each side because the 1 from each side is where the overlap is. Yeah. And then I always have 3 dots because I've got 3 kids.
Right.
That's a stock. And then these lines, the middle lines here don't really matter, but this bit's interesting here, because if I'm coming down, see, that's quite a good one. I did that straight away. But if I'm coming down and that's my angle, it influences where the loop is at the top.
Yes, I was going to ask about that actually,
it's
because they have to line up, or else those lines become skew.
Yeah, because otherwise you get a line coming in the middle, and then you go, so what the hell's that? So I'm very good now at, even with a big piece. I guess like lots of writers do. You top and tail it, and then and it's there. It's bang on. Yeah, I'm pretty damn good at that. And then if I'm doing, it's even worse if I'm doing a split one, because this bit here has to mirror this bit here, because they're the same.
Yeah,
joint.
sure.
It's the two consonants. So that also changes things quite drastically.
Right.
Yeah.
And
full nerd. Sorry.
But did this all develop? I mean, I'm assuming you didn't set out a formula.
No,
obviously you just realised as you were doing it.
As I've done more and more of them, I look back at some of the original ones and I'm like, oh god, that is fucking terrible, because it's all off. But that also means it's very identifiable mine. If someone draws one, and many people do draw them, and I have no problems with people drawing them, I know it's not mine.
Yeah.
I can tell by that angle there.
When you earlier on, you were numbering works, weren't you?
I went through a period of doing that, and then we're like, "Fuck, no."
Was it sequential? Like was it?
I had phases. I did a whole bunch of white ones, and I had like my white phase, and then I had my coloured phase. Like Rembrandt or something like that. Something ridiculous. I'll just move that to rose. No, I did do that, but again, I've done this journey where they were all on paper originally, then they were on sticker paper, and then obviously I got into paste ups, which were bigger, and then I was getting vinyl. I was getting a hookup with vinyl, so I was just accepting any vinyl, because it was free sticker, like fully. But over time, that's gone back now to the colour, because there's now association with that pencil with the colour.
Yeah.
So I now either use clear, white, or that colour. I don't use any other colour. It just doesn't feel right. The blue one just looks weird.
Yeah.
Even though the pencils that I used in the UK weren't this colour.
Right.
It's kind of dissociated from that now. It's not about the actual colour of that being a pencil. Sure. That's just the colour I associate with it.
It's less representative, and now it's iconic.
And exactly. And also the colour itself, I've not taken a claim to, but that's my colour. And so if we do sticker stuff and sticker meetings and get-togethers, and I bring along the vinyl. I'm like, but you can't have the yellow. I don't want your. No, you can't have that. You can have any other vinyl you like, the silver, the gold, whatever you like.
Yeah,
you're not having that one, because that's mine.
I want to go back to the typography.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've used your artistic moniker as a sort of a type basis.
Yeah.
But you've also used things like song lyrics and the likes. How important is phrasing and a turn of phrase? Because I'm a big fan of that as well. Utilizing a really well worded phrase.
Brilliant.
As a visual element.
Yeah. I've thought about it a bit. Okay, so I like listening to music. I can't play music. I like listening to good words. I can't write poetry. I can't write stories. I'm crap at that. I'm awful at it. But other people aren't. They're really, really good at writing phrases. Just 2 words can blow me out of the water. Absolutely blow me out of the water. And therefore, there's the value in that. Is that for me is that I'm just putting what they've written, and I just like writing it, and I like seeing it, and I like reading it. So a turn of phrase or a word has meaning to me. So I'm hoping it has a meaning to someone else. Yeah. Even if it's just a lyric from the song, and someone goes, oh, excuse me. My favourite one is it's a song by Young Fathers, and it's if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. And I thought it was beautiful, and I wrote it, and I did it on a giant picture of some horses. And then I was reading with my notebooks. I was tearing apart old notebooks, and it was a nursery rhyme notebook. That's from a nursery rhyme from 1586 or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. And that's from a nursery rhyme from the 14th century.
Do you
like? I'm reading it and it's blowing me away, and it's now. It's hundreds of years old, and it's been used in a really, really. It's a lovely song by one of my favorite bands. So I only knew about it because of that.
Yeah.
But it'd been around for 400 years earlier than that.
Yeah, it's so hard, I think, to structure or conceive of a short phrase, in a really economical way.
Which is why poets are poets.
Yeah,
this is why writers are writers. That's,
exactly.
You can write a sentence, and and that's what as a teacher, that's what you did. A kid would write a sentence, and you'd pick it apart and you go, okay, what is that the best word you can come up with that situation? Is it the best kind of simile, or is that the best that you can come up with? What can you do to make it better? And as a kid, that's hard. It's like I wrote it; it's perfect.
Yeah.
I said what I said.
This is exactly what I wanted to say.
What I say. But poets, and I'm not a poet, and I even struggle with poetry as a concept, but they don't do that. They tear it into it and make it the most
surgeon's
condensed,
knife, right?
Yeah. Condensed, perfect phrase, and that's wonderful. I love the ability to do that. So I can't do that, so I borrow everybody else's.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
When you're using phrasing, and it gets harder, obviously, for longer, multi-word phrases, how much thought do you put into the visual look? Because I tend to favour the sentiment
of the actual words,
and I tend to favour the sentiment or the phrasing as a spoken or read word passage. But I also try to then use the actual form of the letters to make something. And this, I guess, relates back to, again, graffiti subversion of lettering. How much have you ever sort of, found a phrase that you really liked, and then when you actually come to write it,
doesn't work?
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it has. We talked about it a bit. I'm a huge lover of placement, and therefore I think I've got quite a good eye for for looking at a space and kind of knowing whereabouts it's going to all sit within that. I'm also, as you probably saw when I wrote my name at the start, I'm also not that good at thinking ahead. So I will often run out of space.
Right.
Or I will often fucking put a T when I should have put an E, like a dingus that I am. So I don't think ahead too much about that. But I like that too. I like I'm running out of space. I need to double height it, or I need to put one on top of the other.
Right.
And that's that kind of looseness to it as well. I think I quite like that. I'm chaotic. If you to look at my space, it looks chaotic. But if you were to ask me to find anything, I know where
you'd know where it is.
Yeah. So even this, it's very chaotic, but it's not. If you break it down, it's very much organised, layering.
And what's interesting, I think, is having watched you do this, you find spaces for things. Like you have almost a sort of an ongoing knowledge of there's a space here that I can use and what can fit.
I'm a big. I was writing something the other day, and it was actually a quote again. I was writing a quote, and it was talking about lines being imperfect, and unintentionally I'd kind of drawn a line and was trying to get this imperfect going across, and it didn't work, and the T was down below, and I was like, I really don't. I tried to put it to one side. I put it on my desk and left it, and I came back the next day. I was like, actually, that's bang on. That's the whole point. I didn't follow this line perfectly. It's an imperfect line.
Yep.
And it just happened the T's dropped off the bottom because I didn't fit it in. Not because I went, there's 8 letters and I need to do, which is what I kind of fighting against that.
Yeah, right.
It would be too easy to do that. Which is that thing again, that projecting on the wall and just copying the lines. It's too easy, but it is an easy option rather than standing there and going, Okay, there needs to be about
and I think when you say easy option, it's also that the preconceived element is too strong.
Yeah,
You know, the outcome is sort of determined.
Yeah, if you do the job properly, you know exactly what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And that's lovely. That in some situations, that's absolutely what's needed, obviously, because people do it all the time. But I do quite like the little tiny bit of chaos that could come into it.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ, I forgot a damn letter.
Yeah.
Right, how can I wing my way through this and work out how to make it work?
It's like the charm of those garage sale signs that you might see around, where like it hasn't
just
fit on
wonderful.
the piece, and it's painted on an old plastic tray.
Yeah, and the E's too. Yeah, I just think that's so good. but it can't be forced.
No,
we had it at my work where I work. The logo was made to look like a kid had done it, and that just irked me so much.
It's like those stylized graffiti fonts,
but
made by people who aren't graffiti writers, and it just never looks quite right.
Just something. So as a teacher, when you're teaching, you have children in front of you, and you're explaining something or showing them a maths problem or writing something. You learn to write upside down,
right? Yep.
And so I'm pretty damn good at doing upside down writing, facing that way.
Yep.
And then when I turn it the other way around, I'm like, that looks cool. That looks out of control, but it's controlled, but it's out of control. Sure. And as I've done it more and more and more, it's always capitals because trying to do joined up, A and D, you could do it, and so. I'm investigating that a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like upsetting it, but in a controlled way.
Yeah,
it's obviously still my handwriting.
Sure,
because I'm writing it, and actually when I turn it around the other way, it does kind of still look like my capitals. But you can be too controlled.
Yeah,
your brain wants to make them fit, but if you're writing it upside down. It sometimes is got a looseness to it, and actually that's what I think quite a lot of people are striving for.
Right.
The E might not be right there, but if I was doing it this way and it had it hanging off the bottom, we're like, oh, that's disgusting. I can't use that. So the writing upside down thing. Obviously, I write my name a lot, but the K and the E, the K upside down is always nicer looking than the K the right way around.
Right.
Always. K is the right way around. You could do 100 Ks in 100 different ways, but an upside down one is going to always look better. Always. And S's are always good as well, So I'm damn, I didn't put C in there, so see that, So it gives it an out of controlness, but it is still fully controlled. I'm still working within a plane. I'm still working with my letters being, So I like that. I'm investigating that a little bit, and sometimes they don't line up. Screw. The C's from here. Yeah, it looks cool other way because it's. But if I'd drawn that, it just wouldn't be the same. I quite like that. It's like trying to write like a kid, but not pretending that you've got crayons.
Sure.
It's knocking back my neatness.
Yeah.
To make it not neat.
So I'm interested. You started with those scrawled furniture tags. You were also mentioned that when you were younger, you would write in all capitals.
Yeah.
Do you still maintain a variety of handwriting styles?
Yeah, I used to change all the time. I used to do my E's like that, like graph E's.
Yeah.
But in my lowercase hand in writing, my teachers used to lose their shit over it. But there was a definite. I got all my old school books, and there was a definite aim to try and make it look nice,
right? In
my own way, And then I used to do the E's, the real big. The E changed a lot, and it just because in handwriting E actually comes from the bottom. We don't do that,
right?
That's a graph E. or a sign writing E. So if you put T, you put T-E-A, it comes from the very bottom. It's a real loop, but actually to do an E that way is quite subversive,
right?
Because it oversizes it. That's why the E on the end of furniture. I'll get a different pen. The E on the end of furniture. When you get to the end of the E, you get to F-U-R-N-I-T-U-R. You can make your E fucking giant.
Yeah, right.
You can come into this point, and then you're not limited by the 45 loop, which we use in handwriting all the time.
Right.
So my E used to mess around, but I used to do that style. I used to do that style. I used to do that style, and that used to wind the crap out of the teachers. But that's the E's and teeth. When I'm writing teeth, I'm doing that way. I'll get different colour pens so you can see it better. If I write teeth, I'm not doing the two totally looking E's, totally different E's.
Yeah,
that's
right.
graphy.
Yeah.
That's a graphy right from the go. That half to the line and then round.
Yep.
Rather than the loop.
Sure.
And so, again, that's that thing I can spot that.
Yeah.
I'm full nerdy with that. If someone's writing a tag, you can see you know what their lines are doing, and a tag is to try and to be as quick as possible. That E's are beautiful. Sorry, they're gorgeous E's. But if it was just, it just looks like
yeah.
But look, they've got a really lovely. I don't know. So yeah, I used to vary my handwriting regularly on the regular. I'd see someone else's letters, and I'd be like, my A's. I used to do that. To do that for my A's. I used to get into so much trouble because it takes so much longer. Handwriting's about efficiency.
Right.
That's why we handwrite
and
do cursive, is because it's efficient.
Yeah.
You're
continuous.
You're not using. It's one letter. Handwriting is one.
Yeah.
It's one piece of line from there to there.
It's A to B.
Yeah.
In an efficient way.
You've just made it curly.
Yeah.
So for me to stop and do A's in the middle like that, it just used to take so long. But it looked damn good. You know what I mean? It's awful. But yeah, so there's that. I think all of those things are a part of it. Is this is I'm a full-on font nerd. I'm a full-on stationery nerd. I'm a full-on line. My favourite artists are lines. Yeah, I don't. I see graph artists, and I'm going to annoy people, but they'll do an H. That's my version of graffiti H. And they'll do that blend thing where they have a colour here and they have a colour here, and then it goes to a different colour, and then it's blended in the middle. Just make it all one block colour because it's a rad H.
Yeah.
I'm so terrible at that. And they do all these fun, do all the extra bits on it, which is fantastic. That wild style, they put little extra bits here and here, and it's like if you just did a really lovely, a nice H is a nice H, and I like that.
Yeah.
So my favourite graph artists are ones that just write lovely letters,
nice blockbusters.
Yeah, that really
strong outlines.
Although even the rollers are perfect. It's just full on, does what it says on the can. You're not trying to, yeah. So yeah. That's I'm as a page of absolute gobbledygook.
Well,
but I'm saying that.
I was going to ask, how would you surmise the page in front of you? You've used the term gobbledygook.
Yeah, it's a potted history of bonkers.
Is it summary of what you're sketching?
It's what my sketchbook
would normally look like.
Yeah, I did it for the thing at the museum. I just actually scanned my notebooks and how the process. This doesn't have an outcome, which is delightful. Can I just say there is something wonderfully delightful about just drawing for the sake of it and making terrible mistakes. But you're supposed to make mistakes when you're drawing.
Mm.
This isn't an art. This is just cock-ups, lots of them, and that's fine. But it's nice to have an outcome. If someone, someone said, so my one recently has been my character. I've been drawing it over and over and over, and I'm doing what I do with a pencil. Sometimes the head's too short,
yeah,
or the eyes are too, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I've been really focusing, like trying to work out my eyes. I'm kind of in with this loopy thing at the moment. The nose, I'm like I've got quite a good nose on me anyway, so it's kind of trying to work out that. I have one ear taller than the other because I've got one ear taller than the other. Trying to make the beard feel kind of like a scarf, and then obviously a furrowed brow because I'm a grumpy boomer. Always a furrowed brow. Bags under the eyes, possibly. I don't know. But then I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't have any. It doesn't have an outcome. I'm not going to be writing teeth in graph and have my character next to it. But my character might be on stickers. I feel like it. Again, people who know me will go, well, that's obviously freaking you now. It's blatantly, but actually, it's just another character.
Yeah.
And characters, I was doing it for a while in like kind of in a real kind of like what's the guy from Spirited Away, the black suit on. Yeah, I was kind of doing no face. I was kind of doing no facey kind of style ones for a while. I did used to do babushka. That's a throwback. So I used to do babushkas, real simple babushkas. And then I would fill this with patterns and designs, Ko-Fi patterns, and maybe even like loops and things. But I did stickers. I did a lot of stickers for them actually. Real simple babushkas, little bubbas, and you could do real long ones of those as well. And I really liked them, so they were like real long. And then have loops and swirls, and I quite like them. I did them for a while. They were an intimate. When I first got to New Zealand, I was doing those, but it wasn't really. It was just I did paste ups to them as well, big ones. So because it's a really nice shape, that kind of off oval.
Yeah.
With the hair, and then kind of fills in nicely. You could do cool patterns and stuff. But yeah, so the babushkas were another one, but I've never really I did them. I did them in my notebooks for a while as well. But I still draw the chair. That's a real comfort for me, that one. That's a real comfort drawing. My pencils was a very comfort drawing, but I'm a bit anal about them. They can go wrong, whereas that doesn't, because I messed with it and did stupid long leg versions, and the whole point was it was supposed to be messed with. So if
I like that idea that you've got a comfort aspect because it doesn't require the precision.
No, and it doesn't have any, and I'm not using it. The pencils. Oh, it's like nice pink. The pencils are they're thick. They're a thing now, whether I like it or not. They're a thing, and so if they're shit, then people will go, oh, he's gone a bit shit. Whereas the chair is a nothing. It doesn't have any weight for me. It's just a thing. I just used to draw a lot of on my skateboards and on my jeans, and it was just between me and the mates. We would just used to kind of do it. He then started tagging furniture, but he spelt it wrong because he was heavily dyslexic, which amused me no end. F-U-R-N-I-T-O, I think it's spelled. It's fucking brilliant.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's me. Yeah, mess, isn't it?
It's a beautiful mess. That's what we're after.